I am once again babysitting the leftover orchids from Katia Orchideas and for the Illinois Orchid Society until the spring show. At the end of the show yesterday, I was presented with this box and I was told that there are 60 orchids in it. So let's see what we have. So first we have Pescatoria clavokorum, forma semi-alba, listed for $35. And I will be taking all of these out of their little travel trays and potting them up because it's at least like 5 months until March when our show is. This looks in pretty good shape. It's been pretty cool since Katia was here for the Chicago Orchid Land Festival. I don't know if these are left over from Chicago Orchid Land and then they were selling at the iOS show, but this looks pretty good. It's a little, the moss is dry, so it will need to be watered, but $35. So Pescatoria clavokorum is found in Colombia and Ecuador at altitudes around 700 to 1600 meters, and it's a warm to cool growing epiphyte from wet forests on mossy tree trunks to the ground and blooms in late winter. On a short inflorescence with one flower, and the flower is fragrant. So I'm just reading all this from the orchidspecies.com. Next up we have Dicea trinitensis, which does not have a price tag on it. Orchidspecies.com says it is found in the Leeward, Windward, Trinidad, so the Leeward, Windward Islands in the Southern Antilles, Trinidad and Tobago, Suriname, French Guiana, and Venezuela in tall forests at elevations of 800 to 1300 meters as a small size, warm to cool growing epiphyte with a clump of suberect to erect in youth, pendant with age, leafy stems, enveloped by leaf sheath bases carrying small fleshy distichous, deciduous, velvety brown, green, deeply sulcate, mucronate leaves, that bloom on an axillary near the terminal leaves. So look, you can see here that this has bloomed before. And on a single flowered inflorescence. Okay, I moved the camera because Pinto has joined me and he was totally blocking the camera in the other direction. So I have Zootopium aguirre, it's an EI. Here's the tag. It's listed as $18 in his cool to intermediate range. The internet orchidspecies.com says found in Colombia without exact locality as a medium-sized epiphyte with an erect ramicle enveloped by infundibular sheets with oblique ostia and carrying a single apical erect, coriaceous, elliptical, somewhat lanceolate, acute, abruptly narrowing below into the petiolate base leaf. The flower looks kind of like a bulbo. So if this is a medium, this is like a very small plant. It's going to get bigger. Next we have Maxillaria Acuminata, and it has no price tag on it, but there's not very much plant here. I just don't know that. I mean, I wouldn't pay anything for that. Maybe there's another one that this could go with. Found from Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru in wet montane rainforests at elevations of 450 to 2400. So basically warm all the way to cold as a miniature-sized, warm to cold-growing epiphyte with an elongate creeping rhizome, creeping, enveloped by imbricating non-foliaceous sheaths and carrying well-spaced ovate flattened pseudobulbs. And the flower looks to be yellow. Here we have Barbosella Propens, and you can see it's marked at 15. It has little tiny yellow flowers, and this actually looks quite nice. It's a cool grower or a cold grower, see there? It's got the blue. Found from Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Leeward Islands, Jamaica, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Brazil, in wet montane cloud forests as a miniature size, warm to cold growing, so prefers cold, repentic capistos cespitose epiphyte at altitudes of 800 to 2,500 meters with a short ramicule carrying a single coriaceous elongate semi-terete leaf and blooms in the spring and late fall. So there we go. Next we have Maxillaria Neopil. Looks in pretty good shape. Actually, all of these plants looks in much better shape than last year. The internet says that it is an orange flower with red spots. Found in Colombia at elevations around 750 to 1400 meters as a small to medium sized, warm to cool growing epiphyte with short stems carrying suborbicular, strongly compressed pseudobulbs. So you can see those pseudobulbs right there. And it has a new growth coming out right here. And it's listed on this tag as $25. The tag on this plant says Barbosella Lente. You can see that. It's a warm grower for $30. See the plant right here. At orchidspecies.com, it's listed as Pescator Lente. Found in Santander, Department of Colombia, without locality, as a medium-sized, warm to cool growing epiphyte with 6 to 10 oblong lanceolate acuminate, fragile in texture leaves that blooms in the late spring through summer. It has, if you can't see right here, a very interesting red-pink flower. All right, Barbosella Rusus. This is a cool grower and it's listed for $20. Orchidspecies.com also has it as Barbosella dolichoriza. Found in Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru at elevations of 950 to 1900 meters, as a miniature sized, warm to cool growing, cespitose to shortly repent epiphyte with short cylindrical ramicoles, enveloped basally by pale sheath and carrying a single apical erect linear lingulate, obtuse, gradually narrowing below into the canaliculate, narrowly petiolate base leaf. I guess that describes this right there. Orchidspecies.com is showing a yellow flower, but the photo right here, if you can see, is of an orange flower, and I'm also seeing an orange flower on Facebook. Next we have Scaphyglotus prolifera right here. It's shown as having this white flower. They're very small. Here's the plant. It's listed as $18 right here. It has these sort of stems, and then with these little roots right here, and then those roots the flowers will bloom like right there. Found from Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil, French Guiana, Suriname, Venezuela, Trinidad, and the Windward Islands as a medium-sized, hot to warm growing cespitous epiphyte. So this is really small if this is a medium growing epiphyte. In hot, low rainforests at elevations of 40 to 2,000 meters. So a lot of these are temperature tolerant. They can take a pretty big range. And it has white flowers. Here's the plant again. This is Restrepia brachypus. It's listed for 20. It looks a little dry, if you ask me, on it. I don't see any flowers on it, but it does look pretty dry. Let's see right there. No. Found in Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia in wet montane forest as a miniature-sized, cool to cold growing. So, you know, much narrower range. It's a Restrepia at elevations of 1,180 to 3,200 meters with erect ramicoles enveloped completely by several inflated sheaths and carrying a single apical, broadly elliptical leaf that blooms in the winter and spring. The flower is sort of a typical Restrepia flower, which is brown and orange. All right, right here we have Mast Valia arenacea. This is listed as a warm grower with orange flowers. They're actually yellow and then they're overlaid in red. And it is tiny, this little thing. Very, very small. Found in Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, and Ecuador in pre-montane rainforests at altitudes of 700 to 1,400 meters as a miniature-sized, warm to cool growing epiphyte. And like other Mastivalias, it's one flower at a time. I've got a Locardia longifolia. Like other Locardia, it's yellow flowers. It doesn't have a price tag associated with it. Found in Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia in very wet montane cloud forests at elevations of 350 to 2,600 meters as a small to medium-sized pendant growing hot to cool, wow, broad range, growing epiphyte. And yes, like if you've ever seen a Locardia bloom, they have these little tiny yellow flowers that bloom right at the ends. So this is probably spent flowers right there. This here is listed as Otoglossum globuliferum. I found it at orchidspecies.com as Oncidium globuliferum. Now, it is wrapped around like in a wreath. So it's like, it's grown, this is so long that it's just wrapped around in a circle. I almost feel like we could put it on our heads, like a little crown right here. Found from Costa Rica, Panama, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru as a small-sized, hot to cool growing epiphyte in cloud forest at elevations of 400 to 2,400 meters with widely spaced groups of small plantlets. So, well, these are widely spaced. You can see they're spaced all around here. and it looks like it has yellow flowers that are brownish red in the middle. It definitely looks like an oncidium. So I have here two Pliophalus linearifolias. See them? They're $15. And they look to have, well, they're obviously very floriferous, little tiny star-shaped white flowers, found in Brazil and northern Argentina in humid rainforests at elevations of 900 to 1400 meters as miniature-sized, warm to cool growing cespitous epiphyte. And it looks like 3 to 12 flowers on an inflorescence. I have a Mast Valia aranacea here for $20. I feel like I did one earlier, but I'm not sure. So I will read it again. Found in Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, and Ecuador in pre-montane rainforests at altitudes of 700 to 1400 meters as a miniature-sized, warm to cool growing epiphyte. It has yellow roundish flowers that are overlaid with red. And then I have a Mastalia picturata for $15. And this is a white flower with brown spots on it. Found in Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Ecuador, and Guyana, Peru, Bolivia, and Venezuela, and wet cloud forest on tree trunks, and is a miniature size, cool to cold growing epiphyte found on riverbanks at elevations of 1500 to 2750 meters. Maxillaria, can I say this? Arachnetes. The flower looks a little bit like a spider. It's yellow, and then the petals are white. I don't know if you can see the picture very well there. Here are the pseudobulbs. Found in Colombia, Venezuela, and Ecuador at elevations of 1,000 to 3,000 meters as a small size, cool to cold growing epiphyte, and single flowered inflorescence, which are fragrant. And then I have Ornithocephalus ecuadorensis. So this is listed for $20. Oh, and the other, this was also $20. Got this kind of fan. It had yellow flowers on it. Found in northern Ecuador at elevations of 1800 to 2000 meters as a cool growing epiphyte. If you like cattleyas, there's a Cataleya trianae here. This is obviously a warm to hot growing orchid. Here are the roots on it. It's $45, and it looks like it has lavender flowers. Again, I will probably pot all of these so that they'll make it to March. This long sticky thing with leaves at the end is Maxillaria graminifolia, $18. Found from Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, and Venezuela as a small to medium-sized, warm to cold growing epiphyte found in wet montane forest at elevations of 1100 to 3000 meters with pendant terete cane-like stems. And then I also have Maxillaria Procurans for $18. And This has got a white flower. It's got a white flower with sort of a pink center. Found in Venezuela, Colombia, and Ecuador in dense forests at elevations of 1,800 to 2,200 meters as a medium-sized, cool-growing epiphyte. And we'll show the flower upside down. Typical Maxillaria shaped flower. Pink with a darker red center. And then the other one had yellow flowers with a dark center. We have Maxillaria Lawrenceana for 22. And this has, if you can tell from the picture, a cream flower with red spots on the sepals. Found in northwestern Venezuela and Colombia in pre-montane and montane forests at elevations around 1,500 to 3,000 meters as a small, cool to cold growing epiphyte. This does look a little dry. And I have Maxillaria Maxillaria lepidota, found in Colombia, Venezuela, Peru, and Ecuador in high, cool, lower cloud forests at elevations of 47 to 4,100 meters. Wow, really high up, very cold. So I guess it can actually be warm if it starts at 47. I wonder if that's a typo. It has yellow flowers, you can see on the picture. I have two Restrepias here. They are, let's see, this one's 18 and this one is 25. The one that is 18 is Restrepia triglossa. You can see it, looks in pretty good shape. This one is like yellow with red stripes, and then this is Restrepia contorta. It's 26 and it is cream with red spots on it. Let's see if I can move the leaf aside so we can see the photo a little bit better. It's also in really good shape. Let's see, the stripy one, triglossa, found in Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador, and wet, cool cloud forests at altitudes of 300 to 3,200 meters as a small to warm growing epiphyte. And then the spotted one is from Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, in cloud forests at elevations around 1,300 to 3,200 meters. And this again is Restrepia contorta. Okay, this right here is Pliophalus morgani, and it doesn't look like much, but there's actually a lot of plant here. It is a tiny, tiny little miniature. There's plant over here, and then there's more plant down here. It's hard to see. I think the moss is covering it just a little bit. They're sort of facing, see, the wrong direction. There's more plant right there. It has tiny little yellow flowers, found in Pichincha and Imbabura provinces of Ecuador, in orange trees, in pastures, in wet montane forests at elevations around 1,400 meters as a miniature. Here's another Restrepia triglossa. And it is 18. Here's another Maxillaria Acuminata. I think I did one earlier. I don't know if it had a price tag. This one is $20. Right here. I have here a Maxillaria Acutifolia without price tag on it. This is a small side species found in Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Venezuela, Leeward Islands, and Trinidad and Tobago from 190 to 2,300 meters. It has an sort of orange petals, I think, unless this is resupinate, and I'm actually looking at, oh, it is resupinate. So the sepals are yellow and the petals are orange, I believe. Or no, yeah, the sepals, and yeah, because it's resupinate, so it's upside down. Looks like in pretty good shape. I don't know how much it is. And then I have a Maxillaria brevis scarpa for $18. And brevis scarpa is found in Colombia, Ecuador, Peru at 1,900 to 2,500 meters. It's a cool to cold grower. It has, if you can tell from these photos, these flowers that are sort of yellow at the tips and orange in the center. I have two Maxillaria pendulas. They are each 15 and they are listed as warm growers. Found in Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Brazil at elevations of 200, 1,800 meters as a medium size. These are bigger. To cool growing epiphyte, it has sort of bronzy yellow flowers. This is Maxillaria Scorpoidea. It has, if you can tell, green flowers with red spots on it. It's 15. Found from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru, and wet montane forests from 100 to 3,100 meters. Don't know how big the flowers are, but it looks like they bloom like, say, like, see where that is? That looks like an old flower stem right there. This is Epidendrum subpurum, and I just want to show that it has some new growth right here. It looks like it has long pendulous yellow flowers on it, found in Trinidad and Tobago, Venezuela, Brazil, Ecuador, and on coffee shade trees at elevations around 1,200 meters. And apparently this is a small, I don't know, it's much bigger than some of the other plants we've seen, small, cool growing epiphyte. I forgot to mention that this is 20. And then next I have Pliophalus Laurano. This seems to have sort of yellow flowers that are tinted purple. It's 18. It's one of the bigger Pliophalus, and clearly it's bloomed before. Found from Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia as a small, hot to cool growing epiphyte in wet montane and Piedmont forests from elevations of sea level to 2,100 meters. So I have here Pliophalus ruscifolis. It has sort of these clusters of flowers that are white. It's 20. It's found from Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil, Venezuela, French Guiana, Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, the Windwards, Puerto Rico, the Leeward Islands, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, and Cuba in wet montane and Piedmont forests from 40 to 2,000 meters. Then I have another Maxillaria Acuminata. I think I did this earlier. It's 15. I have here a Kieferstenia tolamensis. It has this white flower that is purple in the middle, and it has a fringed lip. Kieferstenias have these fringed lips, and I can't believe that nobody bought this, because if you look, it's in bud. There's one bud right here, and then there are two more big buds on the back of this thing. Found in the Tolima department of Colombia, as well as Ecuador and Venezuela, in dense cloud forests from 1,300 to 2,100 meters as a cool to cold growing epiphyte. But seriously, it's 20 bucks and it has 3 flower spikes on it. I can't believe nobody bought this either during Orchid Fest or at the show. Got another Kieferstenia, a Graminia. It's also 20. It's not in bud. It's found in Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Brazil in dense forests close to the ground on tree trunks as a warm to cool growing epiphyte when there is no distance like where they are. Blooms spring, summer, and fall. Here is a Maxillaria alba, and true to its name, it has white flowers. It is 20. I believe that says 20. Yes, 20. Found in Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Cuba, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, French Guiana, Suriname, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Brazil in lower montane forests at elevations of 250 to 1,900 meters as a small size, hot growing epiphyte. It's actually in very good shape. It has a new growth right here. And the largest plant in the box is a Maxillaria Eburnia. It's a white flower. It's 25. Found rarely only in Guyana at elevations of 1,500 to 1,800 meters as a small to just medium size. Well, I would definitely go with medium sized epiphyte. And again, white flowers, but again, this is the biggest one in the box, the biggest plant. So I'd kind of want to say medium to large. For 25, we have Maxillaria meleagris, and this is an orange flower with a black lip. Actually quite a substantial plant right here. Found in Mexico and Guatemala in rainforests at elevation of 1,500 to 2,450 meters. It's listed as a cool to cold growing epiphyte. And finally, it looks like I have a Chondroscaphy Chesteronii for 25. It has a yellow flower with a very frilly fringed lip. Found in Colombia and Ecuador and Peru in extremely wet montane forest at elevations around 1,400 to 1,500 meters and is a cool growing epiphyte.